been a difficult early season for Brabham, and the decision to go back to Ford engines for a while can't have been taken lightly. Not only does it seem to have soured relationship with the BMW team, but it's also splitting their points between two entries in the Constructors' Championship. Luckily, Nelson Piquet seems to be taking it all in his stride, and he's been happy enough being the guinea pig for the BMW Turbo. Patrese, in turn, doesn't seem to have been fazed by his move up to the big leagues. His maiden win in Monaco might have been one of the flukiest in F1 history, but no one can say it wasn't deserved. Piquet's win in Canada is BMW's first in F1, and the team are planning to have both cars with turbo engines once more at Zandvoort. Tyrrell have had a mixed season so far. Alboreto has been doing really well, crowning 3 consecutive points finishes with his first podium, even if it was at the depleted San Marino Grand Prix. Unfortunately, he hasn't finished since, and will be ruining the missed points he might have had with a bit more reliability. In the second car, meanwhile, neither Slim Borgood nor Brian Henton have really impressed. Money remains an issue, though, and the Candy sponsorship was only a short-term deal and has once more gone by the wayside. Tyrrell have been a constructor for 12 years now, though, and Uncle Ken is one of the great survivors in the paddock. Frank and Patrick could probably have done without the whole Reutemann business early on, and Derek Daly is still finding his feet in car number 5, but Keke Rosberg has been a revelation so far, going from the back of the grid to lead driver in the Constructors' Champions in a matter of months without missing a beat. A win can't be far off. The new FW08 car is looking good too, and if Daly can get up to speed, they might yet retain the title. After several years in the doldrums, McLaren have come good with a vengeance in 1982. The MP41B is not only fast but mostly reliable, and they've scored every time they've finished. Even so, if you'd polled most F1 pundits at the start of the season, they probably wouldn't have placed McLaren and Watson top of their respective title races at the halfway point of the season. Watty has seldom looked better in his career, and although he's had more of the bad luck, Nicky's hit the ground running with a win in just his third race back. A distinct improvement from this time last year. Both drivers have scored, and they've only failed to qualify once between them. Reliability, as ever for a small low-budget team, is the Achilles heel, of course, with only 4 finishes so far, but if the rumours about Winkelhock's BMW connections are true, the future could be bright for the little German team. It's been a frustrating first half of 1982 for Lotus. Elio is scoring reliably, but must be wondering what he has to do to get onto the podium, while Nigel has had a podium but more broken cars. The new car has improved matters a little, but the illustrious name are still an upper midfield team right now, and reliant on others having problems to get results. Colin Chapman is said to be losing his enthusiasm for the sport in the aftermath of the Lotus 88 saga last year, feeling that innovation is being stifled. The team and fans alike will hope he rediscovers his enjoyment. Enson's results make pretty grim reading so far, with Roberto Guerrero yet to see a checkered flag waved in his direction. With only 3 starts, it's difficult to diagnose it as a car problem or a driver problem, so we'll see how things go. It's still worth noting though, but by this time last year, Mark Seurer had scored twice. Things are really not going well at Renault. When the 2 yellow cars put on a demonstration in South Africa and then Prost picked up the win in Brazil after the water tank disqualifications, a lot of people feared a complete whitewash. And then the wheels came off, somewhat literally, and neither car has finished since Brazil. They're obviously fast enough, having not qualified off the top 4 except for Arnaux's car troubles in Detroit, but almost every race seems to end in a cloud of steam. At least from Prost, Arnoux seems more erratic, having spun out twice now from an advanced position. Maybe he'd have broken down later, who knows, but if he wants to know why the team seem to be regarding Prost as the number 1 driver, that might be it. The March team found that their results in 1981 improved dramatically when they dropped to 1 car, so it's not really surprising to see that expanding to 3 cars in 1982 has not yielded better performance. Even though De Viotta's entry is effectively a separate entry with a different crew, it's still siphoning resources away from the main team. Joch and Mass has been within a couple of places of the points on a couple of occasions, and Bozell hasn't embarrassed himself either. You just have to wonder how long De Villota will continue paying to go around a couple of times on a Friday and Saturday and then go home again with another DNQ against his name. Chico Serra may not have qualified higher than 23rd yet, but he has qualified for more than half the races he's entered, 4 out of 7, and only retired once, a statistic that has netted him his first point. As the team limps on with very little money and the best staff being poached by other teams, that's probably the best they can hope for. The new Alfa Romeo is clearly a big improvement on last year's, and Andrea de Cesaris looks like a new driver, with 2 front-row starts and a podium, and often running well up with the leaders. There are still some reliability problems. The drive shaft seems a particular weak point, and Giacomelli hasn't finished since Kyalami. Bruno has a bit of a wild streak too, which isn't helping. For a team that were winning races last year, 1982 has been a massive come-down for Ligier so far. The introduction of the JS19 has been problematic, but even with the old car they're struggling far more than they should be. Ironically, of the 2 drivers, it's Chiva, the one people weren't sure would fit in, who's been looking better in the car. Rumours swirl, as rumours do, about internal politics between Guy Ligier, Jacques Lafitte, Jean-Pierre Jabouille and the Talbot concern, and how much of that is true and how much it's affecting performance, if so, is still unknown. It's not that Gilles Villeneuve was the first high-profile driver to die at the wheel of a Ferrari, but his death on the apparent cusp of greatness has hit the team hard, especially coming on the heels of the political fallout from the San Marino race. That aside, the car is an improvement on last year, but still not quite there yet. It's more reliable and generally faster, but still doesn't enjoy the twisty circuits, and the sight of a Ferrari leading a train of frustrated drivers has become quite common. Pironi is known to be ambitious and will want to step up and lead the team going forward, and clearly feels that this could yet be his year. Patresi's pole position in Long Beach last year seems a long time ago now, but it could have been a lot worse for Arrows. Baldi's struggling a little, and Brian Henton never really got to grips with the car, but Sierra's finished in the top 10 4 times on the trot, and the car is reliable. It's only retired once, and that was Baldi's start line collision in Detroit, which wasn't even his fault. If they can keep up the reliability, more points might be on the way, especially for the talented Sierra. Ozella had a traumatic 1981 with the death of their mechanic at Zolder, a blow for such a close-knit team. How much worse then the tragic death of young Riccardo Paletti in Canada. How well, and if, the team can bounce back remains to be seen. Performance-wise, it's been more of the same, with Jarier occasionally reaching the dizzy heights of midfield, with a bonus 4th place at the San Marino race courtesy of the FOCA boycott. Not going well at Theodore. Daly's 14th place in South Africa is still her only finish, and Lammers posted a 100% DNQ rate before breaking his thumb. Lees instantly managed to qualify, only to be collateral damage in the Pironi-Paletti accident. Lammers is due back for Zandvoort, so the team might glumly be expecting a return to having Sundays off. Bad luck and no budget isn't a great combination for a small team, and Theodore are really struggling. The little British team is still struggling to qualify, with 7 DNQs out of 12 tries so far and only 1 finish, Teo Fabi in the San Marino Grand Prix, so far back that he wasn't classified. The team's enforced missing of the mid-season flyaway races has allowed them to do a bit of car development, and that has to pay dividends if the year isn't to be a complete washout, again. The loss of candy sponsorship won't help either. The replacement, Cougar, is a sportswear brand owned by the team's owner Ted Tolman, so it's not bringing in a lot of cash.